Nintendo finally did it. They dropped the official teaser for the Switch 2, showcasing a decent amount of information about the successor to the Switch, which is ultimately probably the best video game console of all time. And in this video, I want to talk about all the ways that I think Nintendo can improve upon the Switch to ensure that the Switch 2 is the best console they've ever released. No, I didn't want to make this video until they announced something related to the Switch 2 because I didn't want to speculate on a console that we didn't know for sure if it was going to exist or not. But now that we know about its existence, I think it makes sense to talk about all the fine details of my wants and desires for the Switch 2. And I'm sure lots of people in Nintendo watch Attacking Toucans because I'm a classic Nintendo YouTube channel. So they're going to watch this, they're going to be like, yeah, it's a good idea. Because I'm sure they're still trying to decide what features they're going to add to the Switch 2. So we know it's just called the Switch 2, which I am super happy about. I really wanted them to call it the Switch 2 because I think it makes a lot of sense. It's super easy to understand and everybody loved the Switch, so everybody knows that a sequel will be similar to the iPhone. It's going to be the same thing but just improved in every possible way. Except the really good thing about this is, unlike Apple, Nintendo waited 8 years before releasing the next model instead of a year. It's great, so hopefully a lot of innovation is going to be happening here. I do think it'd be cool if we got a Pro model of the Switch 2 in the future, and they could call that like the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro or Nintendo Switch 2 Super. And that'd be a fun way to like add variation, but I think Switch 2 was the best title. Not everybody agrees, but I think it's gonna be very good for them, especially with how confusing Xbox has gotten with their naming system. Nintendo just really making it simple, it's gonna be good. So they're expanding the size, which I am super happy with, because I have really big hands, and my hands do fit on the current Joy-Cons. But sometimes my hands get cramped because of how small it is and like the weight. So if it was just a bit bigger and sturdier, it's gonna be so much nicer. And honestly, the Switch screen, it's pretty small. Lots of games just don't feel super playable on this small of a screen. So I'm happy they're really gonna be expanding the size of it and just making it the size that you would truly want to have for the types of games that you would be playing in handheld on the Switch. Like, I've been playing Dark Souls on here. I would love to play Dark Souls in handheld mode, but currently it doesn't quite feel like that'd be worth it. I'm happy we're getting a much sturdier stand because this thing is flimsy and barely does anything and is really bad for tons of situations where you're trying to tilt it at a very specific direction. So new stand, gonna be good. It looked like the video was showing that the new Joy-Cons are going to be much more sturdy with the control sticks. So here's praying that we don't get any Joy-Con drift, because I've lost several Joy-Cons to Joy-Con drift, and it's a shame because those things are expensive. And wait, can I sell Joy-Cons with Joy-Con drift? Like, people will probably buy them and fix them, huh? I should probably sell those to some like tech bros or people who like refurbish Joy-Cons, huh? And the trailer also showed that Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible with Switch 1 games, which we did know about because of a tweet Nintendo put out a couple months ago. But it is good to know, just a second time in this trailer, that we're going to be able to play our whole entire Switch library on the Switch 2. Because of the way the Switch and Nintendo library works now, I've actually been selling a bunch of my physical games because I no longer really want to take up the space in my house with them if I have all the same games playable on my Switch. So I've been selling a lot of my games on eBay. So make sure to be following me on Twitter. I've been announcing every time I put up games for sale. I'll just put my eBay down in the description. I'm selling games when this video comes out, so check out what games I'm selling. But yeah, I'm very happy that I have just like a definitive Nintendo library and I can just transfer it from console to console and it's just gonna grow. And I really just hope that it never resets. So now let's start talking about some things that were not in the trailer that I think they should do for the Switch 2 to make it better. First thing is the super obvious one. We need really good online. We have been investing in Nintendo Online support for like the entire life cycle of the Switch. So they've been getting money, and I hope they are reinvesting this money to make sure the Switch 2 has the best online servers ever seen, and it really brings Nintendo up to the current standards of online matches. I want there to be super strong games so there's minimal lag when playing against people, because I experience that a lot if I'm playing internationally, which would be fixed if they had better servers. I want every game that comes out on the Switch 2 to have way better thought out online modes that have way better options and make playing online just as good as possible. Like, imagine Smash Bros. If they had a proper tournament mode that allows you to create giant tournament brackets. Everybody just enters into the bracket and it just does stuff automatically. When you lose, you get kicked out. You can spectate, you can jump around and watch people, and it just tracks the whole entire thing until there's a winner. That would be so clean. I just want every game on the Switch 2 to have online multiplayer as like the main focus. Like, I want the brain power of innovation to go into online multiplayer, because that's where Nintendo could truly shine if they focus and did it right. And speaking of online, I want them to bring back Miiverse and allow us to have like a giant plaza full of people that we can just like walk around, and maybe it's even like a virtual 3D hub for the Nintendo store. Like, you could go into different stores and buy different video games from a virtual marketplace or a virtual Nintendo store in the Mii Plaza. Maybe if you get credits or achievements from playing or beating other games, you can buy stuff from the stores and use it to decorate your own house that your Mii has. And you can fill it with like furniture, kind of like Animal Crossing, but more achievement based, because Nintendo doesn't really do achievements. But I think if Nintendo incorporated achievements and you were able to transform those achievements into little trophies or plaques or furniture, and then you can decorate your house with it and then allow friends to come hang out in that house in the Miiverse, that would be super fun. And just since we don't really buy games in person anymore, just like make the eShop experience feel like a video game, or try to make that feel like you're going to a store. Like, keep the traditional eShop as well, but that's the next thing I got to talk about. The eShop itself, the traditional one, needs a huge overhaul. It could be so much better. The eShop on the Switch is trash, and I'm ashamed of Nintendo for not updating it at all. Like, it could have been so much better. The ways it could have been better is, one, it needed to be way faster. The eShop like ran in a browser on the Switch and is so slow. It takes forever to load anything, and it's just a pain for no reason. Why does it gotta be slow? Like, come on, it's 2025 at this point. So let's make sure the eShop is running fast. And Nintendo needs to be way more selective with its market space, because think about a store. Whenever you go to a store, they have limited shelf space for the amount of time that customers spend in a store. So you got to make sure that the stuff that you have is like the best stuff. You got to have all your best products like front and center, trying to take people's attention for the most part. But right now, the eShop is set up in a way to where most of the tabs, like the best deals and upcoming games and recent releases and all of these things, they're filled with a majority of shovelware and people trying to take advantage of Nintendo's crappy eShop to push out a bunch of really poopy games that don't need to be on there in the first place, let alone front and center on all of these submenus. Now, there's a couple good tabs on the eShop, but the rest is just, you have to filter through so much garbage to see the good stuff. And it would be nice if Nintendo just had like one person that was more selective and like made sure that all of the main tabs on the eShop just showed you good quality games, and then there's just one last tab that allows you to see every single game release. So there's still a place for the shovelware and stuff for it to exist, but just filter it off of all of the main tabs. That does not need to be a thing. And then I feel like the Switch has so many great games that you would never find if you only were just like searching through the main tabs on the eShop. Like, the Nintendo Switch games require you to do your own research on the internet, which is what most people do anyways, and then type in those games specifically into the search bar and buy what you're looking for. But there's so many great games on the Switch that you would just never see on the eShop by happenstance, and that's a shame. All of the great games need to be very up in your face and be easy to find. Like if they made a list of the top 500 most sold games on the Switch and just had that as like a list of all the games you could see, I think that would just be a great way to see any game you might possibly want to buy on the Switch. But back to the Miiverse that I was thinking of. You guys know how Mark Zuckerberg is trying to create the metaverse, which is like a digital marketplace where you go to buy stuff? Well, I think Nintendo needs to take that idea for themselves and create like the Miiverse, and you can go in there and then say different game developers can buy their own commercial real estate in the Miiverse city, and you can go to that developer's virtual game store and see all the games that they've released for the Switch. You could go to the Gearbox store and they have all the Borderlands games, but then they could also sell like maybe virtual merchandise that you could buy to build and decorate your Miiverse house. Like they need to take this like Animal Crossing Sims aspect, combine it with the Miiverse, and allow you to create your own virtual Nintendo life that you get from buying stuff in the Miiverse. You get what I'm saying? Like that would be so cool and would allow for so much creativity and flourishing within the platform. Or imagine going to the Zelda store in the Miiverse and there's like physical versions of all the digital games that you could buy within that store, and it's just decorated and themed and they're playing Zelda music over the speakers. Like that would be so chill. Now the home screen on the Switch is pretty good as is. I think there's some small things they could make better, such as I wish you could access your groups or your game folders immediately by pressing L. Right now you have to scroll all the way to the right, click on all games, and then press L to see them, and I feel like you should just be able to do that anytime. I think it'd be nice if they had a few new simple color palettes that you could choose on the Nintendo home screen, just to personalize your Switch a little bit better, but make sure they're presets. That way all the palettes have good professional looking color design and nobody has a Switch home screen that looks like an old school MySpace homepage where the colors look like the Brat album color from Charlie XCX. And something else I would love to do is all of the games we have on the Nintendo Switch Online virtual consoles, like the Super Nintendo games and Nintendo 64, I would love to be able to pin those individual games in the virtual console onto my game lists on the home screen. So instead of having to go into the Nintendo 64 online to play Ocarina of Time, I just want to be able to have Ocarina of Time on my main list of games as if I owned Ocarina of Time on my Switch. Because at the moment, that's not going to be a possible thing to have on my home screen unless they officially release Ocarina of Time on the Switch. In general, we do want better specs, obviously. Hopefully the Switch 2 runs at really good speeds, will play at nice resolutions, and the specs will be good enough to allow for all the games to really run at modern day settings. Something else I hope they really do though is I hope they make it so cloud gaming is really good for the Switch, meaning the game is actually running on a computer somewhere else and the feed is getting shown to you on your Switch, kind of like it's like you're streaming Netflix, but it's a video game. I think this would be the best way for Nintendo to keep up to date on modern AAA games, and it would make it possible for you to play games like Grand Theft Auto 6 on the Switch, which would not be possible without cloud gaming. And you can use the Switch now for cloud gaming, like the Kingdom Hearts remakes are playable on the Switch with cloud gaming. So it's already a thing you can do. I just think they should focus and make sure it works really, really good so you can play games like Grand Theft Auto 6 on the Switch 2, and the Switch 2 could be on the console lineup for Grand Theft Auto 6 and other AAA games that require super high specs that the Nintendo Switch can't necessarily maintain themselves. It seems like Mario Kart 10, which is not the official name, I just think it's good to be called Mario Kart 10, is going to be one of the launch games for the Switch 2. And it is going to have 24 players, so that seems like a flex on the online. If it can handle 24 players and not lag, then that's going to be like a, yeah, we're doing good. I think a new 3D Mario game needs to be a launch title for the Switch too. And I think Animal Crossing should be a launch title for the Switch too. People love Animal Crossing. But overall, the Switch is already like a really, really good console. But that's like all the main ideas I have at the moment on how the Switch 2 could be really, really good. But let's continue this conversation down in the comments, please. If you have any ideas on how the Switch 2 could be super duper superior that I did not talk about in this video, please let me know down in the comment section, and I will be reading those and responding. I am super hyped for the Switch 2, as I'm sure the whole entire internet is. The video got like over 10 million views within the day of the video being announced. So yeah, I think people are excited. And also, I'm gonna be on Twitch live streaming a lot over the next few months, so come hang out. See you there. Peace.
At 18 had an audience, so I put out an EP. Made a couple hundred videos so y'all could see me. Got a couple grand donated to make my first CD. Every day I'm working harder cause I wanna be me. Started making my own revenue up in my new house. I'm like, if you put Pinky in the brain, up in a bum ass. I've been moving too much, they can't keep up with my whereabouts. Let's talk about the pop up, I am happy with the turnouts.